There are people who don't exist in pictures, not because they're vampires or secret agents, but because every time a camera appears, they vanish. If you're someone who instinctively turns away when someone pulls out their phone, who has almost no photos of yourself from the last 5 years, who would rather be forgotten than be seen, this video will make you feel understood in a way you haven't before. Because what you're experiencing isn't shyness. It's not insecurity. It's something the psychology world calls visibility anxiety, and it reveals something profound about how you see yourself and the world. By the end of this, you'll understand why you've been hiding, and why that might actually be protecting something precious. Let me paint a picture you'll recognize. Someone wants to take a photo. Your friends, your family, a moment that should be captured. And instantly, like a reflex you can't control, you feel your entire body resist. You make an excuse. I look terrible today. I'm not photogenic. Just take one without me. Or you hide behind someone. Turn your face away. Make yourself as small as possible in the frame. And later, when you see the photo, you immediately focus on yourself with a kind of disgust that seems disproportionate to what everyone else sees. Here's what most people don't understand. You're not avoiding the camera because you think you're ugly. You're avoiding being witnessed, being documented, having permanent evidence that you exist in a specific way, at a specific moment, taking up space in the world. And if you're really honest with yourself, there's something even deeper. When someone takes your photo, you feel like they're stealing something. Like they're capturing a version of you that you didn't consent to show them. A version that's unguarded, unfiltered, real. You're not camera shy. You're perception shy. The camera is just the tool that makes other people's perception of you permanent, unavoidable, real. Most people spend their whole lives thinking this is about appearance, about not being attractive enough. But you know that's not it, don't you? Because sometimes you avoid photos even on your good days, even when you objectively look fine. The appearance is just the excuse your brain uses to justify a fear that runs much deeper. And here's where it gets interesting. While everyone else is collecting memories in photos, you're collecting absences. Your life exists in the negative space, in the photos not taken, in the moments you witnessed but were never witnessed in. But why? Why does being seen feel like such a threat? To understand that, we need to go deeper into what's actually happening in your brain when someone points a camera at you. Here's what happens in your nervous system the moment someone aims a camera at you. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that detects threats, activates. Not because the camera is dangerous, but because being perceived feels dangerous. Psychologists call this scopophobia, the fear of being looked at. But it's more nuanced than that. It's not that you're afraid of eyes on you. You're afraid of being defined, of being reduced to a single moment, a single expression, a single version of yourself that doesn't capture the complexity of who you actually are. Think about it this way. When you look at yourself in a mirror, you have control. You can adjust your expression, your angle, your energy. You're in constant negotiation with your own image. But a photograph? That's someone else's perception, frozen in time. And you have no control over how they see you, how they interpret your expression, what story they tell themselves about who you are in that moment. There was a study done on people with high self-awareness, people who think deeply about themselves and how they're perceived. And they found something fascinating. These individuals experience what's called meta-awareness paralysis when being photographed. They're so aware of being aware that they freeze. They can't be natural because they're too conscious of trying to appear natural. You avoid photos not because you lack confidence, but because you have too much self-awareness. You see too clearly the gap between your internal experience and your external expression. And here's the plot twist that changes everything. Most people who avoid cameras are actually deeply sensitive people. People who feel things intensely, who notice everything, who carry an acute awareness of how fragile and misunderstood we all are. The camera doesn't just capture your image. It captures your vulnerability. And showing vulnerability feels like handing someone a weapon. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're protecting something. Your inner world is rich, complex, constantly shifting. And you know, maybe unconsciously, that no photograph can ever capture that. So why try? Why reduce yourself to something flat and permanent when you're actually infinite and changing? But here's what most people never realize, and this is the uncomfortable truth. The real reason you avoid being photographed has nothing to do with the camera at all. It's about something that happened long before anyone ever pointed a lens at you. At some point, maybe in childhood, maybe later, you learned that being seen came with consequences. Maybe your appearance was commented on constantly. Maybe you were praised for being a certain way and ignored when you weren't. Maybe you were mocked, criticized, or made to feel like your natural self wasn't acceptable. So, you developed a strategy. If I'm not fully visible, I can't be fully judged. If there's no evidence of me, there's no evidence I failed to be enough. Your camera avoidance is actually a form of self-protection that once served you very well. It's not a flaw, it's armor. And armor exists because there was once a real threat. Here's a story that might resonate. I talked to someone once who realized they had almost no photos of themselves between ages 14 and 24. 10 years, virtually undocumented. And when they asked themselves why, the answer was devastating and simple. I didn't think I deserved to take up space. Every photo felt like proof that I was taking more than I was worth. That's what this is really about. Not vanity. Not insecurity in the shallow sense. It's about feeling like your existence is somehow intrusive. Like you're asking too much by simply being visible. By taking up pixels. By being remembered. By mattering enough to be documented. And if you've ever felt this way, I want you to know you're not alone. Studies show that people with high emotional intelligence and deep empathy are more likely to experience visibility anxiety. Because you're so attuned to how others might perceive you that you'd rather disappear than risk being misunderstood. But here's the flip side, and this is where it gets really interesting. By refusing to exist in photos, you're also refusing to exist in your own story. Years from now, when you want to remember who you were, how you looked, what you experienced, there will be nothing. Just blank spaces where you should be. So what do you do with this knowledge? How do you exist without disappearing? That's what we need to talk about next. Here's what changes when you understand what's really happening. You realize that avoiding photos isn't protecting you anymore. It's erasing you. Your image is not your worth. The photo doesn't capture who you are. It captures one moment of light hitting your face. That's it. It can't capture your thoughts, your kindness, your struggles, your growth. It's just data. And data can't define you. This means every time you see a photo of yourself and hate it, you're giving that image more power than it deserves. You're letting light and pixels tell you who you are. But they can't. They literally cannot. Only you know who you are. Being perceived doesn't require being perfect. You don't need to earn the right to exist in photos. You don't need to wait until you look good enough or feel ready. You exist right now, exactly as you are. And that existence is already worthy of being remembered. Think about the people you love. When you look at photos of them, do you judge every flaw? Or do you feel warmth, memory, connection? You see their aliveness, not their imperfections. Other people see you the same way. The harshness exists only in your own eyes. Start small. Let one photo exist. Not a perfect one. Not one where you're posed and prepared. Let someone capture you mid-laugh, mid-thought, mid-life. Don't look at it right away if you need to. Just let it exist. Visibility is a practice, not a performance. You don't have to suddenly love being photographed. You don't have to post pictures of yourself or collect selfies. But you can practice existing without apologizing for it. This means, when someone wants to take a photo, notice the resistance. Thank your nervous system for trying to protect you. And then, gently, let yourself be seen anyway. Not because you look perfect, but because you were there. Because your life happened. Because you matter enough to be remembered. If you're someone who has spent years making yourself invisible, this might feel terrifying. And that's okay. You're not doing anything wrong by feeling afraid. You're just slowly, carefully, teaching yourself that being seen doesn't mean being destroyed. But there's one more thing you need to know. One truth that nobody tells you about visibility and photographs, and why this all matters so much. Here's the truth nobody tells you. One day, the people who love you will want to remember you. And they won't care if you looked tired in that photo, or if your smile was awkward, or if you didn't like how your hair looked. They'll just want to see you. They'll want proof that you existed alongside them, that you were part of their story, that you were real and present and alive. And if you spend your whole life avoiding being documented, you're not just erasing yourself from your own memories, you're erasing yourself from theirs too. This isn't about forcing yourself to love photos. It's about recognizing that your existence matters beyond your own perception of it. You matter to people in ways you might never fully understand. And photos, imperfect, awkward, unflattering photos, are often how love gets remembered. So maybe the question isn't, how do I look better in photos? Maybe the real question is, am I willing to exist imperfectly so that I'm not forgotten? You don't have to answer that question right now, but I hope you sit with it. If you've spent years avoiding cameras, hiding from photos, trying to disappear. You're not broken. You're protecting something tender. But you're also allowed to exist, visibly, imperfectly, fully. Have you experienced this? Do you avoid being in photos? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If this resonated with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Next time, we're talking about why some people feel invisible even when they're standing right in front of you. You deserve to exist in your own story, even if it scares you. Retry. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. KJ. Sonnet 4.5.